Kept you waiting, huh? Well, better late than never. Here's the next Nigmatic update. Alright, so I might as well get the heavy stuff out of the way first. The reason that my musical output has slowed down significantly in the past few years was actually because I had been domestically abused by my ex-partner during 2022 and 2023, until they had eventually left me during the summer of last year. I went into more detail on my Instagram and Twitter back when I released the house that you had burned down, which I'll link to the post below in the description. This turmoil was actually the main factor behind Grimleal's first album being in development hell for so long. I actually would have had this enigmatic update out sooner, but the current circumstances had forced me to become somewhat nomadic this past year, having to move out from place to place pretty often. I have a more permanent residence now, but the housing market situation where I am is fucking absurd, to say the least. The other things I wanted to mention, in case you haven't kept up with my Twitter and Instagram, I came out of the closet a few months ago as demisexual and demi-romantic, hence why I have, this pin here. I will also be going into rehab for therapy really soon as well, since the last few years have severely traumatized and re-traumatized me, and I have been fighting an increasingly losing battle with depression and suicidality. As such, I will likely be a lot less active for the next 2 months while I'm getting treatment and rehab. It's a necessary and long overdue step that I have to take, and also a matter of life and death if I don't get help now. Now, on to some general updates about Nigma Productions as a whole. As you might have noticed, the Grimleal and 313 Archer Bandcamp pages have become inactive, since I've moved their releases to my own Bandcamp, which has been repurposed into an official Nigma Productions label page. The main reason behind this decision was because I wanted to put all of my eggs into a single basket, so to speak. Because at this point, it'll be much easier for me to have to manage only one Bandcamp page instead of multiple. Not to mention that I may start more new side projects in the future as well. The way I release covers from here on out is also obviously going to change, because instead of releasing them individually as singles, I'll release them in compilations at, irregular intervals, I guess, whenever I have enough to make them into compilations, that is. I'll still be posting covers on YouTube, but it'll be somewhat infrequent now since it won't be based on a monthly release schedule. This decision was made in an effort to better organize and declutter my discography. Faustian Ambition, High Noon, and Tyrant were also removed from all digital platforms since I have plans to redo those songs in the future, but I don't know when. But at some point I will. Alright, I might as well go on record about this. So, I'm no longer part of the Axial Sound Team. I had been kicked or even most likely banned from the dev Discord, and I was blocked by some of the dev team members, including the director Sawyer Friend himself, in a rather abrupt and frankly unprofessional manner. Star Magi had also pulled a similar stunt on me as well. No explanation, warning, or reason was given for the sudden removal, but I have a pretty good hunch as to what the cause behind this was, seeing as the songs I had contributed to the game had been patched out alongside my cameo in Disc 2. My stuff's still on the Bandcamp and Spotify releases of the OST albums though, interestingly enough. That said, I hold no bitter or ill feelings towards, both dev teams regardless, and I honestly wish them all the best in whatever future projects and endeavors they end up taking on in the future. However, I will also say that if these actions were taken for the reason I think it was, then it should also go without saying that there are two sides to every story, and that they should have maybe heard me out before jumping the gun. I'm still open to telling my story if they want to listen, of course. Otherwise, I'm just gonna assume that the doors to those particular opportunities have been permanently slammed shut in my face, and padlocked in what was honestly just a plain old dick move. Regardless, I deserve to engage in some degree of pettiness as a little treat, which is why I'll be releasing a mini compilation called Compositions. That C is in brackets, you know, kind of like the C skills brackets thing in Axial. Anyway, that'll be releasing on August 16th. This bad boy has all the songs I contributed to Axial Disc 1 and Disc 2. Freed from the constraints of 8-bit sound, they have been arranged by yours truly, bringing these songs back from the dead with a vengeance into new and more powerful forms. And, you know, they can't be patched out if I just re-release them again myself. Grimleal's status is honestly in a weird place right now due to the previously mentioned issues putting Spellbound by Fate into development hell for the past 2 years, but also because it will now be further delayed by the fact that those songs were written and composed quite a few years ago and are not up to my current standards anymore. Because of this, my plans are to redo the scoring for the orchestrations and completely redo all the guitar and vocal tracking, since I had upgraded my gear and improved my overall process and skills during the few years that, you know, this album had been stuck in development hell for. I don't have a ballpark for when this will all be done, or when the album will be slated to release, honestly, because Grimleal as a project has kind of been on the back burner lately. Admittedly, I'm not all too eager to really devote myself to finishing, you know, this album either. What with all the turmoil that had been occurring during those, you know, last 2 years or so, while I was trying and failing to complete it. However, I think I'll be more inclined to actually finish the damn thing now that I've let Goddessfall have its spotlight. But I can't really make any promises at this time either. Speaking of which, some quick things about Goddessfall. I currently don't have plans to bring it to the live stage at this time, though that may change in the future. If Goddessfall does end up playing any live shows though, they are going to be mainly local to my area, so I apologize in advance to any fans who are not in Ontario, Canada, that will be too far away to make it to any of these hypothetical shows. Other than that, I do have a remix album of the self-titled debut in the works, as I'm currently working with some electronic artists and producers to make remixes of some of the songs from the first album. I don't have a set date for that yet, but I hope to have it out by this November at, you know, the very soonest. I have also already started coming up with some new material, and even have enough ideas for a second EP and album to be made in the future, but everything is still in an early conceptual work in progress stage at this time. It will also be quite a while before anything finalized will be released to the public, since I have some ideas unrelated to this project that I also want to finish working on before I really start focusing on any new Goddessfall material. So yeah, don't really expect anything new except for that remix album and some covers in the future, I suppose. Finally, I'd like to thank you all for bringing me to 300 plus subscribers. It means a lot to me seeing that my music is resonating with so many people and that a lot of people seem to like what I do. It's crazy to think that just last year I was celebrating my milestone of 200 subscribers, and now, like a year later, I have another 100 or so that have joined the ranks. Once again, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude, and it's a shame that this milestone hasn't gotten the celebration it deserves, given that I'm currently going through some very hard times right now, and also hadn't really thought about exactly how I'd celebrate to begin with. So, I want you all to do me a favor. Assuming you're of the legal drinking age in whatever country you reside in, feel free to pour one out in my behalf. And if you aren't, just pour out like a root beer or something instead, you know? Well, that's all I needed to cover for this Enigmatic update, so I'll see you all in the next one. Ezekiel Nigma, out.